Hello, good day, my glorious families. I welcome you all to today's chapter of the day. So, today we'll be talking about the continuation of our book of Job. Today is Job chapter 2, and I hope you're going to join me. This is the series, and we started yesterday. Yes, we started yesterday. If you check my previous video, it's on Job chapter 1, and today is going to be Job chapter 2. So, let's read. While I'm reading, I'm going to be penning down like a hysteric, whatever that interests me, and then I might share later if I still have enough time. Satan's second test of Job. So the first time in the chapter 1, if you can watch it, Job tested Satan by destroying everything he had. He took his children, he took everything from him, his property and everything. Now, after Job lost all of this, he still worshiped God. At the end of the day, he assumed, or let me say, he submitted to God's will. He said, okay, God gives him and God had taken them back. That God gives and God take. But I asked from the first chapter that is it true that God gives us things just to take them back? So I personally do not agree that God will give children for him to take back. Well, I do not agree. And sometimes Satan might strike. I don't know. I really don't believe that God takes the children from us. He gives to take. I don't believe in that. But I don't know if you can shed more light on that, if you believe that is what happens. But I don't believe in that. So let's see what happens in the second chapter. It says, Satan's second test of Job. One day the sons of God came. Let me hold this because I don't want to be stuttering. One day the sons of God came again to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them to present himself before the Lord. I want you to note that sometimes in the midst of the children of God, you could find the agents of darkness. So let's take note, not that when you are in church, you just believe everyone is for God. So these parts of Job chapter 1 and chapter 2 had established that while you're seeing the children of God, while you see people gathered for God, you will still see in the midst of them, there are agents of darkness, or you can say there is Satan in their midst. So let's be guided and let's be very, very careful, especially in these last days. The Lord asked Satan, "Where have you come from? From roaming through the earth?" Satan answered him, "And walking around on it." Then the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? No one else on earth is like him, a man of perfect integrity, who fears God and turns away from evil. He still remains his integrity, even though you incited me against him to destroy him for no good reason." Skin for skin, Satan answered the Lord. Can you imagine? A man will give up everything he owns in exchange for his life, but stretch out your hand and strike his flesh and bones, and he would surely curse you to your face. Now, let me bring something out from this book of Job. If you notice, this same statement is what the devil mentioned. Satan said, a man would do anything for you, we do anything for you because you covered him up and you gave him everything he wants. So if you read chapter 1, that was what Satan said in chapter 1. That Satan answered. Listen what Satan said in verse 9. Satan answered the Lord. That's chapter 1, verse 9. Does Job fear God for nothing? Haven't you placed a hedge around him, his household, and everything he owns? You have blessed him. You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But stretch out your hand and strike everything he owns. He will surely curse you to your face. I want you to take note of that. Chapter 1, verses 9 through 11. That was what the devil said. That was what Satan said. Now take note of here. Chapter 2, verse 4. Satan still said the same thing after he had taken everything he claimed here. He had taken it away from Job. Now, here in chapter 2, when God is still proud of Job, the devil still came again and said, "Oh, skin for skin this time around, even though he did not curse you after you have taken all his possessions. Now, this time around, skin for skin. Let me strike him by his flesh, by his skin. Let me inflict him with sickness, and let's see if he will not curse you." Now, I want you to take note of that. He still repeat the same thing, which means he wants to take his flesh. If God, he wants to keep doing it till God will say, "Okay, have his life." So take note of this, all of you watching this video, and miss myself. That is what I pick from this story. That the wicked ones around you, they will keep taking and taking and taking till they take your life, because what they actually want is your life. They want to keep taking. Even when you say, I want to steal, let me give him a second chance, let me give him a third chance, let me give him a fifth chance. Somebody that will never repent. There are some unrepentant soul that will never repent. The best thing to do is to send them out of your life. And that was exactly what Jesus did. He said, get thee behind me, Satan. He cast him out. He sent him out, because if he had to persist and continue with him, this guy never stops. He will keep demanding. That's what Satan does. Anyone who has satanic spirit, they keep demanding. They never get satisfied. They will never be satisfied. And then another thing I want us to notice, that these are the things I learned from the book of Job that I'm pointing out gradually. Another thing I learned from this book is that, if you notice, I don't know if I don't know, if you know, please let me know, because nobody knows it all when it comes to the word of God. I have never seen anywhere else God was playing gamble with his people, just like he did with Job. Because God actually was proud of Job and was, saying it to Satan, like, I'm proud of my servant. He's been good child. He's been this. He's been that. He's been a good servant. He's been faithful. I don't think God has ever done it again after he did it with Satan, because even God realized that this guy can never be satisfied. Like, he was ready to destroy. He wanted Job's life, period. So he will keep taking, he will keep gambling, till he had to claim his life. And for your information, this video will be more than 10 minutes. I am sorry, because all these things I needed to point it out. So now let's continue. Very well then. The Lord told Satan, he is in your power, only spare his life. So Satan left the Lord's presence and infected Job with terrible boils from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. Then Job took a piece of broken pottery to scrape himself while he sat among the ashes. There is one more lesson, but I'll wait. Because if you check, there is a reason God permitted Job to do this. Don't say God is mean. God is not mean. Our faith will be put to test. I want us to know that those who walk with God is a gradual process. You walk with God. Working with God is like attending a school. You pass one exam, like a final exam. You will pass some certain test, then final exam. After final exam, you move into the next class, right? That is how it is in the spiritual realm. Anyone who wants to work with God, God will put you through test. God will test you. Jesus Christ was tested. He was tested. He was tested and he was trusted. And he was able to stand firm. And remember, whenever you are being tested, because God does not tempt anyone, but God will put you through test. Yes, you will be tested. God allowed Job to test. God allowed permitted Satan to test Job. Yes. But it's now left to Job to do something. Now, that thing Job was supposed to do, I will let you know in chapter 38. And if you can try to read it, you will know what I'm talking about. And you can put it in the comment section. What God was expecting of Job is in chapter 38, and that is what I want us to learn. As Christians, there are times that Satan will test. There are times that evil will try. The devil will strike. Okay, it's not that we are not protected, we are, but God is expecting something of us when those things happen. So that is why I said I do not believe that God gives us children to take them. So I want us to know that sometimes Satan is tempting just to put us through some tribulation, and we should also realize that we have the power to challenge him and to put him to where he belongs. And I pray that we will not lose that power. One, I also pray that whenever we call on God, when we are in tribulations or whenever we need his miracle, he will respond to us, because it takes the grace of God for God to respond. And that is why I appreciate when who was that person? Yes, when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, when they told God, remember when they prayed, they said God should please save them from that tribulation. Okay, they said no. They didn't pray. When they were telling King Nebuchadnezzar and his people, they said, if that our God, they told him that our God is able to save us, because they believe he can save them. But if he decided not to save us, he remains our God. So there are situations where you pray over a situation. Okay, let's say like somebody loses somebody, a loved ones, and then you pray for that loved one to rise. If the loved one does not rise, it doesn't mean that God does not exist. Of course, it does. It does exist, and it will forever exist. But just in case God does not raise that loved ones, it doesn't mean that God is not capable of. God might just want that child to, or that person to come home and rest. So whoever want to do such exercise, such spiritual miraculous exercise, must be ready to also listen to God. That was why I appreciate Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego when they said that God will save them, that they believe God can save them. And if their God refused to save them, he still remains God. That's it. God is God in any situation at all. Be it sad situation, happy situation, beautiful situation. God is God. Nothing stops that fact. And he is still in the, and that was why I appreciate what Jesus also did during the time he was trying to raise Lazarus. He prayed to God and he told God that I personally know that you can raise this death of 4 days. This dead body that has been dead since 4 days, I know you can raise him. But just to let these people know and believe in you, that you exist and that you can raise death, even a rotten death, you can bring back the flesh, a dry bone, you can bring them back to life. Please help me to raise this Lazarus, my friend, just to prove to them. Because you can't come and be tempting God. You can't say, oh, I'm a child of God, let me walk in the front of trailer. When he blended me, I can always say, God, bring me back to life. No, that's, you're tempting God. You don't tempt your God. Do not tempt God. It's better you respect yourself. You don't have to go and jump into that trailer, because if God decides not to raise you or bring you back to life, it does not stop him from being God. That's why I always appreciate God whenever he answers my prayers. Say, God, I know that if you answer my prayer or you do not answer this particular prayer, you are still God. Whether you answer my prayer or not, you are still God. It does not stop you from being God. If you answer it, I still respect you that you are God. If you don't answer it, I respect you that you are God. But please, Lord, can you please answer this prayer? I need this thing. Just answer it. I beg of you. Oh yes, because sometimes God will purposely not answer our prayer for a reason that is best known to him. You are asking, your child is asking you something, but you know, my son last night was crying for candy. I know that he was having tooth issues. His tooth up here was rotting. If I refuse to give him, it's not because I don't love him. I'm not going to give him because I know that's going to hurt him more than he expects. He doesn't even know. He only enjoys the sweetness of that sweet, of that candy. But I, the mother, I will refuse, and he will cry thinking I hate him. But no, I don't. I know why I will not give him. Or probably I know why I won't give him at that point in time. I am sorry. That's why I said this video is going to be long, lengthy. So let's go. I'm in verse, let me repeat verse 6 so we can get back online. He said, very well, the Lord told Satan, he is in your power, only spare his life. So Satan left the Lord's presence and infected Job with terrible boils from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. Jesus. Then Job took a piece of broken pottery to scrape himself while he sat among the ashes. His life His wife said to him, are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die. Can you imagine? So if he had cursed God and died, what will happen? That guy will go straight to hell, and all of his suffering in vain. So sometimes do not expect your strength to come from the closest person closest person to you. Your strength has to be from above. Because at that point, the closest person to you might have had his or her spirit down as well. So don't be disappointed when they tell you, because they are human beings as well. They are human beings, and they may tell you, curse God and die. Just ignore God. God does not love you. No, when you hear that, please don't listen to that. That's not true. Hey, his wife said to him, are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die. Verse 10, you speak as a foolish woman. You speak as a foolish woman speaks. He told her, should we accept only good from God and not adversity? Throughout all this, Job did not sin in what he said. Now listen, he said, should we expect good from God and not expect the evil? Well, do you think God will give you evil? God does not give evil, but evil comes from the devil. You can see that it's Satan that really wished to do this, but God permitted it just to, okay, let me see. this is my son. Let me see if you will still be faithful to me. So let's also take note that Satan is an accuser of men. He will always tell God your wrongs. Yes. Hey, God, don't save him. Remember, he slept with that lady last night. He committed adultery. He committed fornication. Yes. She committed fornication. Yes. God will always, Satan always want to accuse us. So let's be guided and let's be careful. Let's also remember that God always is by us, standing with us. So in tribulation, what I also learned is that let's not abuse or curse God when things are not working our ways. He does not, it is not God's wish. It is never his wish. He said his thoughts for us are of good and not of bad, to give us an expected end, to give us a greater end, to give us a joyous end. God never wishes us evil. It is Satan that is inciting evil. He wants God to permit him so that he could come to us and do us evil. So let's take note of all this, because these are tactics of the enemy. So let's continue. Job's 3 friends. Now, verse 11, when Job's 3 friends, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Sophar the Naamathite, that one is my friend, heard about all this adversity and that had happened to him. Each of them came from his home. They met together to go and sympathize with him and comfort him. When they looked from a distance, they could barely recognize him. They wept aloud, and each man tore his robe and threw dust into the hair, and on his head. Then they sat on the ground with him 7 days and 7 nights, but no one spoke a word to him, because they saw that his suffering was very intense. So I guess this is how they mourn. They help people to mourn in those days. The Bible said they wept. That is when they wept aloud. Each man tore his robe and threw dust into the hair and on their head. So they poured dust in the hair, and then they poured the dust on their own head, and then they sat to mourn with him. They couldn't speak a word because they don't even know where to start. Like somebody lost all his family, all his children, all his possessions. What will you say? Will you say sorry? Does sorry help? You just have to watch and listen. Even before you can, I learned that you can't just greet a grieving person. You have to ask God what to say. If you don't know what to say, just shut up. I'm sorry to use that word. Lock up your mouth and don't say one word. Just lock it up. When we get to chapter 3, I will tell you more about these friends, because sometimes you tend to blame people when issue happen. Pastor Adeboye is a general overseer of one Redeemed Christian Church of God in Nigeria. When he lost his son, hey, people were abusing him. In fact, there were lots of insults. They said it's because he has not been standing well in God's presence. He has lost his lane with God. It's because he's not been righteous. That is why God took his son. I pray that Baba will read the book of Job to encourage himself, because it is not easy that a man lost most favorite child. Because the news told us that man, I don't know him, but he was Pastor Larry, I think, late Pastor Larry. I can't remember, maybe Pastor Larry, that was his name. He's not Pastor Larry, sorry, I forgot his name. He was the most quiet, most gentle of all his children. So even if you don't pity the man that lost his son, at least pity the son that lost his own life, and pity his wife and children that lost their father and the wife. Can you imagine? People are still blaming that man till today. They insult him with all sorts. They said he's not a faithful man. He had been doing all sorts to destroy the Christianity. He has been doing this. And I keep saying, even if this man did all this accusation you're accusing him, the fact that he lost his son, let's say that is a punishment. Isn't that enough? Do you know what it takes a mother to lose a child? A grown-up man, I think he was over 40 when he died. A grown-up man, when the man supposed to be at old age, for a man at old age to lose a son that is also grown with family. You people are behaving like, what are the names? Eliphaz the Temanite and Bildad the Shuhite. So we will see. We will read about them tomorrow in Job chapter 3. I am sorry this video had to be lengthy. If you like, listen to the end. If you like, drop off in the way. Well, my own is that even if you had watched 1 minute, God bless you for joining me. I love you all. Ciao, ciao. I see you all tomorrow. Bye.